Let's talk about how amazing your visual processing system is and how it's critical for the performance of an elite athlete. This is a top-down view of the brain. So what we see over here, you can see the eyeball here at the very top is those yellow little orbs. And these lines represent the pathway where the information that's coming from the eyeball has to travel to different parts of the brain in order for the brain to make use of that information. So the information that's coming from the eyeball is going to go down the optic nerve. It's going to hit this area called the optic chiasm, and some of the fibers are going to go to the opposite side of the brain, and some of the fibers are going to stay in the same side of the brain. Then the information has to go through either a chunk of the midbrain called the superior colliculus, which is where it reacts to a lot of movement types of activities, or it could go into the thalamus, where it's going to process it and it's going to send it back over to the back of the brain in an area called the occipital cortex. All of this has to happen really quickly, so your brain can process this information in about 0.2 seconds. So in a blink of an eye, your brain is already taking the information from light and it's already processing it before it's moving on to the next bit of information that's coming into the eye. Now let's translate that into a sport like baseball. In baseball, the average pitcher is throwing about 90 to 95 miles an hour. A 95 mile per hour baseball is traveling 60 feet in about 0.425 seconds. And if it takes 0.2 seconds for your vision to even see an object, then you have less than 0.25 seconds in order to actually process that information and make a decision on whether you want to swing the bat and actually to swing it in a trajectory that is actually going to make contact with that baseball. So despite the amazing skill that it takes in order to hit a 95 mile per hour baseball, most people would think that a baseball player's reaction time is a difference maker. But people have actually looked at this. So when scientists actually studied elite level baseball players versus normal controls, they looked at their times on a simple reaction time test. And the baseball players' scores are not actually that much different from a normal control, which means that there's something else going on than the elite baseball player than someone that just walked off the The difference may actually come down to cognitive processing. So what you see here is another test called a go-no-go test, where a person has to see something and make a very rapid decision on whether to go with the stimulus or to not go against the stimulus. And elite level baseball players do have a very good go-no-go reaction time compared to normal control. But in order to succeed at a go-no-go test, you have to do something else very The one thing a Major League Baseball player does really well is they process this variant of an image. The one thing that an elite baseball player does extraordinarily well is they process hundreds of thousands of variants of this image so they could tell what the finger is doing, what arm angle is coming, so they could make an instant decision on whether a pitch is going to be high, low, inside, outside, and they can make a split-second decision on whether to swing or not, even though they cannot physically track the baseball from the arm all the way back to the plate.